All right, guys, so we're back with another video here today, and this one is going to be a very interesting one. Okay, so I'm going to title this "How to Connect with People," but this book review, the actual name of the book is "How I Raised Myself from Success to Failure in Selling." But really, the book is about how to connect with people. Okay, so that's why I'm titling it this, and let's just get right into it because there's some very important points in this book, how to connect with humans, and let's go. Number one, take a public speaking course, and through repetition, conquer your fear. It was the turning point of the author's career and also Warren Buffett's career. Okay, so why is this so important to take a public speaking course? And obviously, for those of you who followed my channel for a while, you know that I'm very big into this. And I used to have a huge fear of public speaking. And in fact, public speaking is actually the number one fear for people around the world. It's above death. People are more scared of public speaking than they're scared of death, illnesses, whatever. Public speaking is the number one fear in the world, which is nuts. It's absolutely crazy to think about. But this is a massive fear for a lot of people, right? Because, our brains are old and back thousands of years ago or whatever, if you were ostracized by the group, which means if you didn't fit in to the group, then you would starve and you would die because people wouldn't, give you food or whatever. It's like this crazy thing that's in our brains from thousands of years ago, where it's if you're in a public speaking situation and you mess up or something like that, then now you're left out of the group and people don't like you and now you're going to die. It's crazy. It's very irrational. But the reason why it's so great to get over a fear like this and able to connect with people, the main reason being is that, when you do something like this, you feel so much more comfortable, in a social setting, because you're doing something on purpose that's very uncomfortable. It's very uncomfortable, and you're doing this on purpose, and you're exposing yourself to that, which makes you in turn just more confident, more relaxed, in a social setting, which will play to your favor in any interactions you would have in the future. And it's funny, Warren Buffett, which is I think right now the second richest guy in the world. When I watched his documentary, excellent documentary by the way, and when I watched his documentary, I think it's called Becoming Warren Buffett. I watched his documentary. He says when he was younger, when he was 20, 21, 22, I don't remember the exact age, he just could not do public speaking. He's every single time he was asked to do in the class, stand up and say something about yourself or give us your name. He said he would feel so sick and so shivery that he would throw up, and he just couldn't even stand up to say his own name. And out of all the accomplishments he's had in his life, I mean, this is a guy that's right now I think worth over $100 billion. Out of all the accomplishments that he's had in his life, he says the number one thing, and he has it hung up in his office, is going through the Dale Carnegie course. And it was a public speaking course. And he's that's the thing that changed my entire life, because he couldn't, be who he is today without having to get over that fear of public speaking and expressing his ideas, his thoughts, or whatever to people. So that's such a huge thing. And I strongly, from firsthand experience, I strongly encourage anybody who's on the fence about this to actually do it. Because my story with public speaking actually, I joined Toastmasters for the first time, I want to say 4 or 5 years ago. I don't remember exactly. I want to say 5 years ago, probably at this point. I joined, Toastmasters, And I was so scared of public speaking. I don't know what it was. It was like when I was younger, when there was public speaking classes, I would literally, you know, like there was times where, you know, when I knew I had a class where you had to get up in front of, you know, a group of people, I just wouldn't show up to that class. I would just skip it. Or, you know, I remember on at least one occasion, you know, when I knew I had to do this public speaking thing, and like, I remember like just taking like 4 or 5 shots of liquor before going to school that day. But then like I realized the public speaking class was like in the 4th or 5th period, and by the time it came about, I was like sobered up. So what happened was, like, before it was my turn, I snuck out of the class and I left. And you know, I think it roots from like, you know, some sort of traumatic experience when you were younger. Like for me personally, I vaguely remember a time where I was like, you know, public speaking, and I was holding like a piece of paper. It was like Spanish class, and we were like, I was talking to like somebody else, and like I was holding this piece of paper, and I was like, my hands were shaking, and I was really nervous, and I heard people in the back like laughing at me and judging me and this and that. So I think that was like, you know, when I was maybe in elementary school or middle school. I don't remember. Yeah, I don't have like a very strong memory of that, but I think that's where it roots from. And then like avoiding public speaking makes the fear even worse. So, you know, the first time I did it, I remember like at Toastmasters, they say, you know, stand up and, you know, let us know your name and why you're here. And I remember I was like stuttering, and like, I was so scared. It was crazy. Like I was just so terrified of doing it. And like, I stood up in like a traumatized state. I was like, you know, shivering, and I was like, my name is, you know, this, and I'm here, you know, because I'm scared of public, you know. It was like traumatic. And like, even like a week before going to that class, I was like already like dreading it every single night. I was like, oh my God, you know. It was like a scary thing. I don't know why. It just was, you know, it just simply was. And then after that, obviously, you know, I took improv classes, which was even scarier, which is like absolutely insane. You know, and that was the way it was. I had to force myself to do it. The point is, I had to force myself to do it at first. So if you're watching this video, you know, you really need to go out of your way to do that. Like, you need to force yourself to do that, because no part of your body or your mind is going to want to do it. You know, it's not very natural to want to do something like that, like either improv or public speaking, which is, you know, similar. It's where you're getting up in front of a group of people and you're presenting or whatever. But I think it's very important. Anyways, well, let's get to number 2. This one is actually, you know, arguably, you know, the most important thing on this list of 3 things here. There's nothing you can possibly say to someone that would be half as interesting to them as the things they are dying to tell you about themselves. Be a great listener. So, you know, if you want to connect with someone, just remember this point right here, number 2. There is nothing you can say to that person across from you that is half as interesting as the things they are dying to tell you about themselves. Everyone wants to talk about themselves. So if you want to connect with someone, ask them questions about themselves. Dig deeper about who they are. And as they're kind of sharing things with you, opening up to you, and sharing, you know, things about about themselves, they're gonna feel more connected to you for that, right? So focus on them. Ask them questions about themselves. Don't focus on, you know, when you're trying to connect with someone or when you're trying to make a sale to someone, whatever it is. Focus on them and them alone. You don't have to, you know, tell them about everything about yourself or whatever. You know, that will come up eventually, but, you know, at first you want to try to be a great listener. You know, for me, I can be a great listener for short stints of time. This is something I got to work on, you know, for myself. Like, I can, you know, be a great listener, you know, for a while, especially when I first meet someone or whatever. I can listen very intently. I can ask, you know, great questions, really be curious. But then as time goes, we start to get lazy with the listening, you know, or if like there's like a long thing you have to listen to, you kind of like zone out or whatever. So this is a skill that's to be practiced, but it's also a mindset thing especially when you're first meeting someone. Focus on them. Ask them questions. Let them reveal themselves to you. Okay, that's the best way you're going to connect with people. Number 3, when you feel scared of anything, just admit it and accept it. Okay, so when you feel scared of anything, just admit it and accept it. Feel positive about it because it's okay. It's always okay. All right? The only downside when you're afraid of something is when you're trying to resist it, when you're not trying to admit it. You're like, or you do admit it, but it's in like a negative way where you're like, oh man, I can't believe I'm scared of this certain something, or I can't believe I'm feeling fear in this certain thing, or whatever. The best thing to do is be like, you know what? I am feeling that fear. I'm not resisting it. I accept that. I am scared of this certain something. I'm feeling fearful about certain something. But that's okay, right? That's okay. It's okay to feel that way, and accept it, embrace it, and realize that it is okay. And that's the best way you're going to get over a fear, right? That's the best way you're going to get over it. If you're just like always just in your head, like, oh my God, it's not okay to be scared of this, like, and you're just like, you're stifled is the word. You're getting stifled. Just realize that it's always okay. All right, whatever it is, anybody watching this, whatever it is you're afraid of, admit it, accept it. Acceptance is always the number one thing, with things. You got to just accept things. Accept it, let it land, all right? Let it land inside you and realize that it is okay. That's really it. It's always okay. It's going to be okay. You're going to be fine. This too shall pass. All those things, okay? It's going to be okay. All right, and we'll wrap up with that. Another great book. Highly recommend a read on that. How I Raised Myself from Success to Failure in Selling is the name of the book. And obviously they talk about, a lot more selling in the actual book. But I kind of took the connection aspect of it because this is the root of selling is actually these things too. If you want to sell something, you need to do all these things. But also if you want to connect with someone, that's the point. Is this book is talking about selling and connecting with a human is, one and the same. If you want to sell somebody on an idea, if you want to, do that, you need to connect with the person first. That connection needs to be there. It can't be just like some cold, used car salesman kind of approach. You need to actually connect with a human. And make them feel, comfortable, in order to do any business with them. Or this goes for anything. Any relationship in your life could be your, a potential significant other. It could be your friends. It could be your cousins. This is how you connect with anybody. So just keep these things in mind and like the video. Drop a comment if you disagree with something, if you agree with something, if you have something to share, you have a little story to share, whatever it is, or if you have a fear that you want to share, like anything, drop a comment, subscribe to the channel, like the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.